Good morning, students. Today I am going to show you a program in Java to demonstrate the use of the JLabel, JText field and the JButton objects. This program shall convert the value of a currency entered in Indian rupees into the American dollar. Now before I start with this program, I have to open the NetBeans integrated development environment. And for that, let me first minimize this PowerPoint window and bring the mouse cursor over here. So this is the icon of the NetBeans integrated development environment and its version is 8.2. Now let me double click on this icon and this brings me to the startup screen of the NetBeans integrated development environment. This startup screen shows the Project Explorer region. Now this white colored box like region, as you can see here, is the Project Explorer. This region shall list the available list of open Java projects. Now that I haven't opened any Java projects yet, that's why this region is entirely blank. Now these are the recent projects that I have recently created, and all these projects are closed. That's why they are not getting displayed here inside the Project Explorer. So remember, this Project Explorer is the region for open projects but not for closed projects. Since as of now no projects are open here, that's why it shows no project open. Now in order to do this program that shall convert the value of a currency entered in Indian rupees into the American dollar, I have to create a Java project. So for creating the Java project, I have to bring the mouse cursor over here. This is the menu section, and out of all these options in the menu section, I have to choose the option file, and let me click on it, and then I shall choose new project from the menu. So on doing that, a new window like this gets displayed where I am going to choose Java under the categories section and Java application under the project section. This is because I am going to do this program in Java. And after that I shall bring the mouse cursor over here and then click the next button. Now I have to specify the name of our project. By default, the name of our project is Java application 37. But I have to rename that project into currency to dollar, because the first step says create a new project in NetBeans and name it as currency to dollar. So I'm going to rename this to currency to dollar. On doing that, our project gets a name which is currency to dollar. So after that I shall come below and untick this checkbox, okay, because I don't want to create the main class for our project. I shall create a different class which I shall show you after few steps. Now after unticking this checkbox, okay, I shall come over here and create this project by clicking this finish button. So this creates our project specified by the name currency to dollar, and this project is listed under the Project Explorer. Now since this project has been created by me just now, okay, so this project is currently open, and as the Project Explorer is for the open projects, so this project specified by the name currency to dollar, which is open, is also listed here. Now the next thing that I have to do is to add a new Jframe into our project and name it as currency converter. So for that, bring the mouse cursor over here, right click on this project called currency to dollar, and on doing that a menu shows up, okay, where you have to choose this option new, and then again in this new drop down menu you choose this option Jframe form, okay, and click on it. This brings me to a new window, okay, where you have to specify the class name. By default the class name is new Jframe, okay, but I will rename it to currency converter. As a result, the class name for our project currency to dollar is currency converter. Keep in mind. Now you remember in one of my earlier steps I have unticked or unchecked the create main class option, okay, and once I had unticked the main class, the main class shall not be created for my project, okay. Now instead of that main class I shall use this class, okay, specified by the name currency converter for my project called currency to dollar. And once I have specified the class name, okay, then I shall bring the mouse cursor over here and click on this finish button, okay. This shall create the new Jframe form. So here it is. This is the new Jframe form that I have created for my project called currency to dollar, and this Jframe form is inside the design window. Now this box like white colored region, okay, this box like white colored region is the design window, and inside this design window this box like gray colored region is the new Jframe form. So now I can say that this box colored gray is the new Jframe form that I have recently created for my project called currency to dollar, and this is inside the design window, okay, which is also a box like area but is colored white. So this particular area is the design window, and this is the area of the new Jframe form, and this new Jframe form is inside this design window. Now I can increase the size of this new Jframe form by dragging its ends like this. Now the region below this project explorer is known as the navigator window. So this particular region is the navigator window. This navigator window shall list the available list of controls in the design window, but as of now, since this design window contains only one control, which is this Jframe form, that's why only the Jframe form, okay, has been listed inside the navigator window, and that you can clearly see here. It's the Jframe form, okay, which has been listed under this navigator window. Now the second step that I have to do is to give a name to our Jframe form. Now let the name to our Jframe form be currency converter, okay. So this is our Jframe form. Now I shall click on this Jframe form, and on doing that, this brings me to the properties window of the Jframe form here, okay. So this shows here that this properties window is associated with this Jframe form. Now for giving a name to this Jframe form, I have to scroll down, okay, and select the name option, okay. So this is the name option. By default the name of our Jframe form is frame 1, okay. You can see clearly here, by default the name of our Jframe form is frame 1, but I am going to change this to currency converter. So here it is, the name of our Jframe form has been changed into currency converter. Then the next step is to drag and drop a JLabel control from the swing control palette and place it on the top middle of the frame. Now this region is the swing palette section, okay, as indicated by the word palette here, okay, or in short we can say this is the toolbox. Now I have to drag a label, okay, from this palette window into the top middle portion of this Jframe font, okay. So for that I have to select the label from here under the swing controls, okay, and drag this label into the top middle portion of this font. So this is the top middle portion. Now I have to set the text property of this control as currency converter. So for that let me click on this label, okay, and this brings me to this properties window, okay, which shows the properties associated with JLabel 1. Because the name of that label is JLabel 1, okay, but also the text of this label is JLabel 1. But as asked here, I have to set the text property of that label control to currency converter, not JLabel 1. And for that, in the properties window associated with this label control, okay, I shall change the text property into currency converter. So for that I have to select this text option. By default the text of this label is JLabel 1, okay, that's why you can see the text JLabel 1 getting displayed here. Now I shall change this default text JLabel 1 into currency converter. So let me do that. So here it is. Now you can see the change. The default text for this label is currency converter. Now another thing you have to note that the name of this label is still JLabel 1, okay. What I have changed is only the text of this label, okay. So the text is now currency converter. Now the next thing I have to do is to set the font size of this text called currency converter as 14 and the style as bold. So for that again I have to select this label control and come over here to this properties window. Now I shall scroll up, okay, until I reach the font option. So here it is. This is the font option. By default the font family is Tahoma, the font size is 11 and the font style is plain. Now I shall change the font size as 14 and the font style as bold. I shall keep the font family as Tahoma itself for this text called currency converter. So let me do that. Now I shall choose the font style as bold and the font size as 14 from here, and the font family will be Tahoma itself. Now you can see the increase in the font size and it's getting bold. So after that I shall click this OK button, okay. As a result I can see the text for this label, which is currency converter, with the font size increased to 14 and it's bold. Now I shall drag two more JLabel controls and drop them on the frame, okay. So this is the first label control to be dropped into the frame, and this is the second label control to be dropped into the frame. Now I have to set the text properties of both those labels as amount in rupees and amount in dollar respectively. Now let me change the text property of this label, okay, that is JLabel 2 into amount in rupees. By default the text property of this JLabel called JLabel 2 has the font family as Tahoma, font size as 11 and the font style as plain. Now I am going to change this to let the font family remain as Tahoma, font style let it be bold and the font size let it be 14. then I shall click OK. Okay, now the text for this label, okay, identified by the name JLabel2 as shown here, is also JLabel2 as indicated here. Now I shall change this text JLabel2 to amount in rupees. So let me do that. So here it is. The text for this label called JLabel2 has been changed from JLabel2 into amount in rupees. Now note one thing again, that the name of this label is still JLabel2 as indicated here. Okay, only the text of that label has been changed into amount in rupees, and that's why you can see the text amount in rupees inscribed on this label. Now let me set the text property of the second label as amount in dollar and the dollar symbol enclosed within bracket. So for that I shall choose this label, okay, and then come over here, see the properties window. Okay, the name of this label is JLabel3 as indicated here. Now what I'm going to change is only the text of the label. Okay, I shall change the text of the label, which is also JLabel3, into amount in dollar. And then I shall put the dollar symbol within bracket. Okay, so here it is. The text of this label, okay, has been changed from JLabel3 into amount in dollar. Now let me increase the font size. By default the font family is Tahoma, and I shall change the font style, which is default by plain, into bold, and the font size to 14, and then click this OK button. Okay, so here it is. You can see a slight increase in the font size, and it is bold. Now let me choose this label again. Okay, this is JLabel1 with the text currency converter. Let me keep the first letter C as capital. Okay, and the C in converter also I shall make it capital, and then leave a space between the words currency and converter. So this looks proper, isn't it? Now the next thing I am going to do is to drag and drop two JTextField controls on the frame. Okay, and I should place them just beside the JLabel1 and JLabel2. Now look at this. This is the text field option, okay, under the swing controls. So I shall drag two such text fields onto this frame, one for this label amount in rupees and the other for this label amount in dollar. Okay, now let me increase the size of this text field. We can also name this text field by the word as text box. Okay, so either you can say this as a text field or as a text box. It means the same thing. Now the next thing to do is to clear the text property of both the text field controls. Now by default both these text fields, okay, has the text JTextField1 and JTextField2 inscribed on them respectively. Now let me clear the text property of the first text field. Okay, by default the first text field shows the text JTextField1, and now I am going to clear this text property, okay, by coming over here, the properties window, and again choosing the option text, and then I shall delete this default text called JTextField1. Okay, this clears the text property of this first text field. Now after doing this, let me clear the text property of the second text field. Okay, by default it shows JTextField2 as the text. Now I shall remove it and clear the text property of this text field. As a result, the text property of both these text fields have been cleared. But note one thing, that the name of the first text field is still JTextField1. Okay, only thing that I have done is I have cleared the text property of this text field. And again, the name of the second text field is also still JTextField2. I have just omitted the text property of this text field. As a result, after clearing the text property of both these text fields remain blank. Now the next thing to do is to add a JButton control by dragging and dropping from the swing palette window. Okay. Now this is the JButton control inside the swing palette window. Okay. Now I shall drag it and bring it over here. Now I have to set the text property of that button control as convert. Now see, if I click this button control, for this the properties window shows the name JButton1. Okay, but the text of that button is also JButton1. Now I'm going to remove this text and set the new text as convert. As a result, this button shows the text convert. Okay, but the name of this button is still JButton1. So note this. Now let me increase the font size of this button. So let me make it bold and let it be 14. Okay. Again, I have to set the background color as light blue for this button called convert. Okay. So again I have to click on this button control. Okay. Now I have to change the background color. For that, under this properties window for these buttons specified by the name JButton1 and the text convert, I shall choose the background option. Okay, so this is the background option. Now I have to change the background color to light blue. Now let me choose light blue from these possible color options. So this is light blue. Okay, so I shall choose this color and then click OK. Now I have set the background color to blue, as can be seen here in this properties window, and it is much lighter in shade, and that's why you can see the blue tint only at the border areas of this button. Again, keep in mind that the name of this button is still JButton1. The only thing that I have changed is the text of this button, which is convert now. Now let me align the controls properly so that it looks exactly like this figure. Okay, now what I shall do is that I shall bring the convert button up. Okay, and once the convert button comes up, it is now besides the text field associated with the label amount in rupees. So let me bring it up. Now the next step is to double click on the convert button to generate the event handling code. Okay, so let me double click on this convert button. So this is the event handling code. Let me highlight it. Okay, this region shows the event handling code. Since I have double clicked on this convert button, so this becomes an event. Okay, and on executing this event, it generates a method. Okay, and the name of that method is JButton1 action performed. This method shall execute a series of action statements in response to that event, which is the click of the convert button. Okay, so on double clicking this convert button, it leads me to a method called JButton1 action performed, and this method shall execute a series of action statements in response to the event, which is the click of the convert button. Now these are the set of action statements, okay, that needs to get executed, and they shall get executed only they are kept within the body of the JButton1 action performed method. So these action statements, okay, these action statements have to be typed below the commented line, okay, which is to do add your handling code here, which is within this method called JButton1 action performed. So here it is. This is the commented line as indicated by the double slash, okay. It says to do add your handling code here, and I am going to, okay, I am going to put those action statements below this commented line. That is here. I'm just leaving some space for that. So let me first copy these statements and paste it here. Now let me set the alignment properly. So the very first thing I did is I have declared a variable identified by the name currency rate, okay, and I have assigned a value to this variable called currency rate. The value is 66.54. Since this value contains a decimal portion, okay, that's why I have typecasted this value into float, because float and double are the data types which can represent numbers with decimal portion. Now in this case I have typecasted it to float. Remember one thing, that float is for smaller decimal numbers and double is for larger decimal numbers. Since 66.54 is a smaller decimal number, so I have typecasted that to float data type, okay. And this variable called currency rate has also been declared with the data type as float, because this variable is accepting a value, okay, which is of decimal in nature. Again, I have declared two more variables separated by comma, okay. The first one is amount in rupees, which is the amount in Indian rupees, and the second one is amount in dollar, which is the amount in American dollar. And I have declared the data types of both these variables to be of float, because when we talk of amount, usually it is represented with a decimal portion. Say for example, if the amount in rupees is 500, okay, we represent it as 500.00, okay. Or else if the amount in rupees is 850, we represent it as rupees 850.00. So the data type of both these variables is float. Now see why I have declared the variable called currency rate and assigned the value 66.54 to it. This is because the logic of this program is such that I have to convert the value in Indian rupees, okay. I have to convert the amount which is in Indian rupees into American dollar. And for converting the value in Indian rupees into the American dollar, I have to divide the value which is in Indian rupees by 66.54, okay, which is nothing but the currency rate. So if I have to convert the amount in Indian rupees into the American dollar, it is necessary to divide the amount in Indian rupees by the currency rate, which is 66.54, okay, then only we will get the final amount in American dollar. Okay, but before that I need to get the value of this amount in Indian rupees. Now since the value of Indian rupees shall be entered in this first text field, okay, so this value which was being entered in this first text field needs to be extracted, and once this is extracted it has to be stored in a separate variable, and that variable is this one, that is amount in rupees. Now for extracting the value out of this text field I have to use the getText method, and that is done by using the instance of this text field and calling the getText method using the dot operator. Now the instance of this text field, okay, which is the first text field, is JTextField1, okay, so JTextField1 is the instance of the first text field, and using this instance I am calling the getText method using the dot operator as shown here, and this getText method shall extract the value of the text field, okay. Say for example, if I type the value of this text field as 100, then this value 100 shall get extracted out of this text field and stored in a variable called amount in rs, and that shall happen only if I use the instance of the text field which is JTextField1 and call this getText method, okay, with the help of this dot operator. This getText method shall grab the content which is 100 out of that text field, okay, and then it shall convert that content into the float type, okay, with the help of this parseFloat method. This is because the data type of the content inside this text field, okay, which is 100, is string by default. So even if this value is numeric in nature, okay, its data type will be string because this is inside this text field, and any content inside a text field, okay, will have the data type as string, whether it's a numeric content or a alphabetic content or a symbolic content. So whatever content is inside this text field, it has to be of string data type. So this value 100 inside this text field should also be of string data type. But now in order to store the content of this text field, okay, which is of string data type, into this variable called amount in rs, okay, whose data type is float, I have to convert the content of this text field into the float data type. For that I have to use this parseFloat method, okay. So this parseFloat method, okay, shall convert the value or the content inside this text field which is of string data type into the float data type, so that that value or that content can be finally stored in this variable called amount in rs, okay. Now see, we have represented it as float.parseFloat. This is because parseFloat is a method which is inside the class called float, okay. So in this representation using the class float, it is calling the method parseFloat, okay, to convert the text or the content inside the text field into the float data type, okay, so that it can be finally stored in this variable called amount in rs, whose data type is also float. As a result, this value 100, after it gets stored into the variable called amount in rs, now this variable amount in rs will hold the value 100, okay. So as a result we got this value 100 from this expression, okay, and this value will now get stored in this variable called amount in rs. So this is only for your understanding. I shall remove this value now. So the value 100 gets indirectly stored into this variable called amount in rs, provided I supply the value which is 100 in this text field. Okay, but if I supply a different value in this text field, that value gets stored into this variable called amount in rs. Now say if I don't put the value as 100, if I put the value as say 700, then this value called 700 shall first be converted into the float data type. Okay, and once it gets converted, it shall be then stored into this variable called amount in rs. So depending upon whatever value you supply into this text field, that value gets stored into this variable called amount in rs. Now taking the case of our example, let me put the value inside this text field as 100 only. Okay, now the value 100 shall be converted into this float data type. Okay, and then it shall be stored into this variable called amount in rs. So this statement just explains that. And once we get the value in Indian rupees, okay, that value should be multiplied by the currency rate, which is 66.54. okay, in our case the value in Indian rupees is 100. okay, since this variable amount in rs shall hold the value 100, so amount in rs divided by currency rate gives 100 divided by 66.54. okay, as amount in rs will take the value 100 and currency rate will take this value, which is 66.54. and when 100 gets divided by 66.54, we get a new value. Okay, and that value will get stored in this variable called amount in dollar. Okay, so when we divide the value of amount in rs, which is 100, when we divide this value, which is 100, by the currency rate 66.54, we will get the value in American dollar, which is 1.50285. So the value 100, which is the value in Indian rupees, okay, when it gets divided by the currency rate 66.54, it gives us the amount in American dollar, which is 1.50285, and that shall happen only on the click of this convert button. Okay, where the click of this convert button shall act as an event. So the click of this event produces the result, which is the American dollar 1.50285. So from this expression, when the amount in Indian rupees gets divided by the currency rate, it sends the value 1.50285 to this variable called amount in dollar. Okay, so now this variable amount in dollar shall hold the value 1.50285. Now see, the value which is stored in this variable amount in dollar, okay, is 1.50285, and that includes the decimal part. So it is a floating point value, and that's why this variable amount in dollar cannot send its value to this text field. This is because the value that will be accepted by this text field will be of string data type. Okay, but the value contained in this variable is of float data type. So before the value, which is 1.50285, from this variable called amount in dollar gets stored into this text field, okay, that value has to be converted into the string data type, and that is done with the help of this statement, that is string dot value of, then within bracket I shall put the variable amount in dollar. Okay, now if I do that, the value contained in this variable called amount in dollar, which is 1.50285, okay, shall be converted into the string type with the help of this string class and calling the value of method. So the string class shall call the value of method to convert the floating point value in this variable amount in dollar into the string type. Okay, so that value, after getting converted into the string type, can be stored into this text field. So since the value of this variable amount in dollar is 1.50285, which is a floating point value, so that value shall be first converted into the string type using the string class and value of method. And once it gets converted into the string type, it can be stored into the text field using the setText method. So as the name of this text field is JTextField2, so the JTextField2 instance of the JTextField class calls the method setText and converts the value which is in floating point, okay, out of this variable amount in dollar into the string type, and then stores it in this text field. And that is how we get the final value of American dollar, okay, to be displayed in this text field once I click this convert button after supplying the value 100 as the Indian rupees. So from here, 100 Indian rupees is equal to 1.50285 American dollar. Now let me run the program. So this is the interface design of our program. Okay, now I shall run the program by clicking on this button. So this is the interface design. Now I shall supply the value in Indian rupees, which is 100. Okay, and then I will click this convert button. Here the convert button shall act as an event when I click on it. Okay, so let me click on this convert button to generate an event, and on doing that I can see the final result which shows the value 1.50285 as the American dollar. And all this has happened when these set of Java statements were executed in response to that event. Okay, so with this I end my presentation here.